nose. Alright? So, I bet many of you have heard of that phrase before. Can you raise your hand if you have heard that? From your mom, your dad? Alright, I see quite a few hands raising up here. So, if you raise your hand, you might relate to what I'm going to talk about for the next few minutes. But if you don't, it's okay, because I'm going to show you how you can level up your learning game. So, growing up, we've heard of the bad side of the technology, right? It's always the feeling in our life. Maybe you've heard that technology can cause us laziness, addiction, stress, or even something that is totally unrelated, a flu. Yeah. Maybe you have heard of your mom before, you caught a flu and happy through, something like that. Well, that totally kind of makes no sense. But it is always the feeling in our life. But what if I told you here that the feeling is not the technology? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to change your perspective because we have been pointing fingers at the wrong thing. Let's turn those perspective and turn those finger who is pointing at technology at yourself. Because the truth is, we are the real villain in this game. Why? Because it's not all about, oh, where technology is good, where technology is bad. It is how you interact with the technology. Okay, so let's say that I have a time machine. So I bet everybody here really wants to use time machine at least once in their life, right? So let's say that I choose one of you here to use the time machine and somehow screwed up and bring back the World War II to the present. And for this mess, they blame the technology for being too dangerous, too destructive. Like, come on, what is this, guys? Well, the technology itself is actually neutral, right? The time machine itself is actually neutral. It is how we interact with the technology or with the time machine that can produce a certain outcome, bad or good. The action of victimizing yourself, the action to not considering how your act can actually predict the outcome, it calls victim mindset. So the victim mindset itself is really easy to use, especially in the field of education. I bet one of you here, everyone here, have at least once blamed the government for a very stupid curriculum, for example. Well, I remember, I was a student too. I remember sobbing, crying, saying sorry to my mom because I had a really bad grade. It was 56, by the way, the lowest grade I have in my life. Because I have to memorize the history of Indonesia from the earliest kingdom there was, their king, their artifacts, their temple, and those kind of facts doesn't really matter to me now. It's not useful for my everyday life. But memorizing those facts really important for my grade, which can influence my next education. I know learning for grade is just sucks, right? You have to learn certain chapter, take a test. If you do great, you pass. If you don't do great, you have to take remedial and pass either way, right? I bet everyone here in this room has that one chapter, one subject that they don't know what it is about, but still pass anyway. And you're here as a college student, leaving those education, leaving those chapters. Yeah, our curriculum doesn't really push us to master our subject, and it has been a flaw in our education for years. But if we keep complaining, we keep blaming the government, we keep blaming the technology, what are we doing, guys? Because if we cannot change the game, we have to change how we play. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in this room, let's flip the table together with me because I'll show you how you can use technology for your better education. Before we jump into how, allow me to inform you a little bit basic about your brain. So your brain, they are very good in creating abstract, creative ideas, right? But it is less good in storing new information for a long-term memory. In fact, if you just met someone new and you ask them their name, you forgot their name in just 30 seconds. Because it is how short our brain can remember new things. But in school, you have so much things to remember, right? The history of your major, the mathematical formulas, the theory, the procedure, the diagnosis, like a lot of things at once. I'm a college student too right now, and I can relate on having a lot of things at one time. Like, in this semester, maybe all of you here have more than 8 subjects, a lot of organization to participate, a lot of scholarship to pursue, and a lot of competition to compete in. It's like there's so many things happening at once, and maybe your brain reach its maximum capacity to remember all of the tasks you have and all of the meetings you have to attend to, so your brain has less energy to actually memorize and understand what your subject is. So there's so many things to remember, but we have a limited capacity of memory. Our brain doesn't really good at storing new information. So don't you think like we need a backup somehow? Like a computer, you can buy an external hard disk to store more information. But how? Like we only have one brain. Well, we may only have one brain. But who says that we cannot build ourselves the second brain? Yes, you heard it right, ladies and gentlemen. We can have ourselves an extra brain. And it usually termed as the second brain. So it is not as bizarre as it sounds. It is the concept of storing information to a technology. So this technology, presented as your devices, such as your handphone, your laptop, or your iPad, your tablet, they can help you store more information by being a second brain. So using the external device as a second brain, it can help your brain and yourself to free up the energy and the space in your brain. It's just like having a handphone. You back up your photos to Google Cloud or Drive, and it leaves you handphone with a lot of memories. So it is the same concept as your brain. Yeah, so in school, you have a lot of things to remember, like I said before. So using a second brain, you can store less essential information, such as your meeting schedule, your to-do list, and help your brain to actually do something more essential, and the something that your brain can do instead of technology. So as much as I love and we love to be active and ambitious students, we have to stop our brain in falling apart, remembering something that is less essential. So which one is more important? Memorizing list of tasks and meeting schedule, or actually understanding the material itself? Yeah, the second one, I see a few hands there. The second one is, yeah, obviously more important. Then why we spend so much energy to actually try to remember everything? So this is where the second brain come up to save the day. You can store your schedule, you can store your to-do list in external software, such as Google Calendar, Notion, Reminder, or Notes, and save your brain having more space to actually do something that the brain can do, such as if one of you is a medical student, you have to remember a lot of human anatomy, right? Organizing your life using the second brain could lead to more productive days and more optimal education. So the brain is like a computer. In fact, computer is a miniature of your brain. So let's say that you have a computer. It is full in memory. It will start to slow down. It will lag and eventually makes a lot of error. This same principle is also for your brain. So if your brain is really trying hard to memorize everything, it will start slow down in thinking and decision making, and eventually you will make clumsy mistakes, such as missing out an important meeting. This is why the second brain could help, so you can maximize your brain capacity to actually do something more important, and you will make mistakes less in your daily life. Brain is ready. So the second brain itself is already proven scientifically by one of the top universities in the United Kingdom, which is the UCL. So they start a research with two groups. One group, they get an external device. And the second group, they don't get an external device. And both groups are tasked to remember the same amount of information. The first group, they store essential information on the external device and they remember the minor details. While the second group, they can only remember the essential information. So, the group with external device, they tend to memorize more. This is how the second brain concept actually works to help you memorize more information. So maybe some of you guys here are still having a hard time grasping how we can use the second brain in our daily life. So let's take an example. So there's a student here. Let's call him Bamba. Okay, so Bamba, he's a very busy student this semester. By the way, this is a real example of my life right now. So Bamba, he has 5 big college projects, director of 2 organizations. He wants to write a scientific paper. He also participated in external event committee, and also he wants to learn IELTS. So many things. Okay, maybe you guys relate to what Bamba is having right now. But Bamba, he can use the second brain. So the night before, every day, he lists his meeting schedules on external device. Let's say he uses the Google Calendar. Alright, he has 3 meetings tomorrow. Not bad. But it is also hard to remember what was the last meeting key points, right? No worries. Bambam stored them also in Google Calendar, so he doesn't have to remember the key points of the last meeting. This way, his brain can actually do something more important, and he doesn't have to remember the meeting schedule for tomorrow. Now, the meeting affair is clear. There are some empty spaces at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., and then Bambam uses the time blocking method. So he can put his to-do list and the exact time he has to do that. Sweet! This way, Bambam doesn't have to remember at all what he has to do tomorrow and let the Google Calendar remind it for him. This way, Bambam can actually do something more important, such as memorizing and understanding material for the quiz tomorrow. Plus 1,000 aura for Bamba. So, ladies and gentlemen, the conclusion of my talk today is we should blame the government less for our education and actually do something ourselves. We cannot change the game. We have to change how we play. If we cannot change the curriculum and system, we have to change how we learn. With technology, we can create the second brain to store less essential information and free up our brain to do something that only brain can do, such as understanding and critical thinking. So, I believe in this rapidly growing technological era, we have two choices. The first one is to sit still, do nothing, whine about the government and blame technology for all your problems. Or the second one is to actually do something, such as maximizing your learning and the potential of technology as a second brain to help your education. So, I wonder, which one would you choose? Thank you so much.